Welcome back, fans and fellows. Today, we're going to be kind of reacting and going over, now that we've had a little bit of time to think about what we witnessed the other day, major news drops. We're going to go over everything today now that we've had time to let that sink in. So let's go around the horn and everybody introduce themselves. I'll go first. Barking here. Let's go to the next one.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Good to see everybody again, and there's been a lot of excitement this week, so yay!
Yeah, great to be here with everyone. Nice to see you here, Gandalf, and looking forward to chatting.
Yeah. It's always nice to chat, especially now that we got our thoughts in order. I think it would be fun.
So now that we've had a little bit of a breather, let's just go ahead and kind of get right into it. You've had time to digest it. What do you feel? Are you positive, negative, kind of in the middle? Are you happy with the title itself?
I'm very positive. I've been excited for this production for 5 years now, ever since it was announced in November, not 2017, I believe. This has done nothing to damper my excitement. Could there be some stuff that I would wish to see done differently? Yes, but all in all, it showed great attention to detail. It showed great atmosphere. I loved it. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's easy to kind of be taken aback with everything when something big like that gets dropped on you. But overall, yeah, I think, the music was great. The visuals were stunning. I really appreciate that it was practical. There's some details that we can go into. But yeah, overall, I think, the name is kind of along the lines of what we would expect a safe name to be. But I appreciate that it's not just The Lord of the Rings. And yeah, I'm thrilled. It's nice to see something finally.
Yeah, very very exciting. Yeah, I'm liking it just as much today as I did yesterday. The novelty, so to speak, hasn't worn off. It's good.
Nobody feels that it's too long of a name.
It's long, yes.
It's clumsy,
and
most of
yeah,
all.
it's gonna be even longer when you have like an episode number and an episode title next to it every week.
True.
But I suppose, you know,
I mean,
some authors make a point out of long titles.
Yeah, the books are long titles, the movies are long titles, so I don't have a huge problem with that. But yeah, I think
the Rings Fellowship of the Ring is like this big.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just refer to something that Hen just said, that the most exciting thing about this reveal yesterday, in my opinion, is the fact that I think we can consider this the official, opening of the season of marketing. So this is it now. We're gonna be seeing some promo material, probably not on a regular basis, but this is when it all really kicks off. So that's something that makes me particularly thrilled that we finally gotten to this point.
I agree. Yeah.
What about the how it was done? All the handcrafted, no CGI. Was that important? Do you think it matters, Kyle?
Actually, I'd really like to hear Gandalf's thoughts on that first.
I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there with tears in my eyes watching it, and I just thought, man, this is the absolute worst CGI. Oh no, that was somebody else. I watched it. I loved the whole thing. I thought it was so cool. We were kind of looking at an image early, and we were trying to guess, like, is this a desert? Is this the wind going over it?
Oh, yeah.
And then to actually see it play out, it blew my mind. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it's quite the contrast from that original image that we had seen beforehand, and that we were speculating, why is this? Why are we in the desert, right? Like, why are we seeing sand being blown over this this crevice? And so it was a it was.
It's amazing. What we thought was sand dunes were ridges in wood.
It is,
yeah.
Sand was mostly either water being blown over it or wood shaving.
Yeah.
So that was very very funny.
I think it speaks to how untrained our eye is to macro photography, right? Like, it's not something we see, especially in video, right? You don't see that in video very often.
Yeah, you did see it the last time. I said it on the live stream, actually, that the last time we've seen macro photography was in Terrence Malick's Tree of Life, and that was done, the macro photography was done by Douglas Trumbull, and sure enough, Douglas Trumbull did the effects here, and that's kind of like the photography nerd in me is kind of like squeaking because, you know, I mean, very, very important figure in special effects photography history, like just absolutely.
In the grand scheme of things,
Blade
do you
Runner.
guys feel that them doing all that with practical effects, does that have any correlation to how we think they're going to do the show, or do you think this is going to be more, it doesn't matter and this is just Amazon spending money to promote something?
I keep feeling that them choosing to do this teaser, this promo this way, could possibly be playing into the desires of the audiences to see as many like actual effects as possible. So there's been a lot of criticism thrown at The Hobbit due to the extensive use of CGI, and people often expressed wishes that those stuff were done in a different way, in a practical way. So I kind of can't help but feel that maybe a little bit Amazon is trying to show that yes, we have been listening, and you can expect a lot of practical effects in this show as well.
Yeah, I think that's what they want us to think more than
Yes.
we necessarily say that that's what they're doing.
Yes.
And I really think always, we've talked about this, not making a religion out of how the effects are achieved is very important because the fact of the matter is no one knew how these effects were done until we were told. So we're really not as good as we'd like to think at telling what is what.
Yeah.
So what matters is the way it looks, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a bit earlier, but I think the fact that, like we said, like it's macro photography, it's a high-speed camera, our eyes aren't used to seeing those things. So I think that speaks to maybe where this CGI stuff comes from. But when you look at those flames, like those flames coming off of that molten lava, basically, you can tell those are not CGI flames. Like those are very real flames. So yeah, I think this is Amazon. I hope this is Amazon telling us, look, we are putting time and attention and detail where it needs to be, whether that's in CGI or whether it's in practical effects, and we're going to choose the best tools to tell the story the best we can tell it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I really think it's important to note that this is a promo like shot. This was promo material. It doesn't necessarily have absolutely anything to do with how, you know, the show is going to look, how they're going to be applying practical effects versus CGI, etc.
Yeah, that's extremely important because we know when this was shot. It was like late 2021, I think like 2 months ago. It was done by completely different people. Like the one who directed it, his name escapes me, but it wasn't one of the show's directors in any way. It was someone who specializes in like sports clips and that sort of thing.
Yeah. That
So
makes
yeah,
me. It makes me wonder if if the amount of time and attention and detail that's been put into this title sequence is put into the show itself, then you know we're really looking at something special here.
That does bring up a question though. Is this possibly, or a version of it, the title sequence for the individual episodes? Because it would be a pretty neat title sequence. Now, it obviously needs to be longer. Like I timed the Game of Thrones one, and it's like 40 seconds longer than this. But she doesn't speak the entire Ringverse, so they maybe have an unabridged version of that. And obviously, they have an unabridged version of the footage because it's edited. It's not. So.
I kind of doubt it. I think the title sequence.
I doubt it as well, but it could be.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of fuss made about the title sequence once it's revealed, once the show actually airs, and I think they'll really want to flex on that one. But also, I don't know. I find it kind of hard to believe. I think they'll really try to make it much more spectacular, and I don't think the title sequence would even be finished at this point because we're still like 7 months out. So
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
so
fair.
sure that would be done either.
Just putting it out there. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I hope that this isn't the title sequence because I don't care about them pouring magma and running water over an Amazon Prime logo. I don't want that in the title sequence itself. If I'm already there, I know what service that it's on.
Yeah, sure.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something that we kind of knew, but I guess it wasn't confirmed. But at the opening of the trailer, the moment that the music dropped, so did the tears out of this wizard's eyes because it was beautiful and it brought me back immediately. Howard Shore has been confirmed on Twitter, obviously, by I think Prime Video UK and a couple others. It's a pretty big deal to have him back as part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts basically like the History of the Ring theme. Particularly reminds me of a moment just before they enter Moria, Gandalf and Frodo have a quiet moment. Reminds me of that music tremendously. And then the rest of it doesn't bring that to mind as clearly, but it's still, I asked a friend who actually notated it, it's still A sharp minor to G minor. That's an interval that we associate strongly with the ring. And it's a gesture that Howard Shore uses a lot to kind of hint at the ring without like outright stating it. So it's very, I don't know if Howard Shore actually did the music for this. It doesn't sound terribly Howard Shore.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he took everything and cut it up into a cinematic 1 minute, trailer. But I think he created the music, and I think I saw someone on Twitter talk about how it's the same chord, but just in a different key as the One Ring theme. So that's a really clever way of
It's
tying that in there. Yeah. It sounds like it to me. It sounds like it just sounds like someone took his work and cut it up into be more trailer or like sequence appropriate. Yeah.
I agree.
It felt almost like a little bit of the old leading into the new,
Absolutely.
which I think is kind of what Amazon was hopefully going for here.
Yes.
I agree.
I think so.
And on Twitter and Instagram, and especially the Discord server, there's been a lot of chatter around the TV rating and how much that really matters, and what's the rating in this area versus this region. What do you guys think of the TV 14 or TV MA or whatever what is the other one? 10?
It's Amazon's own rating system is that it's 16 plus. Now the TV PG, I don't know how that authority is called exactly at the moment, but they have a rating system that the equivalent of Amazon's 16 plus is TV 14, which is below TVMA, but it's still it's a strong rating. It's like Wheel of Time had that rating. Wheel of Time was, as I understand it, pretty strong. So that could be as well. And individual episodes could be rated differently as well. They could be rated lower. They could be rated higher, perhaps. So yeah, it doesn't really restrict Amazon in any way, which I like because I don't want bloodless carnage. I want it to, feel, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean the second age is a little darker, it's a little more brutal than the third age, so it's appropriate.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's appropriate, of course, and we, if we do get our Calibanner and stuff like that, if we get the Cult of Melkor, that stuff, you can't just show it from afar without a single drop of blood. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I personally would prefer the battle sequences to be as short as possible and as bloodless as possible. But I don't expect them to go like all in the way that Spartacus did or Game of Thrones or something like that. But like Ken often says, them having do battle sequences in the vein of Braveheart or Kingdom of Heaven or something like that. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I just add something to the whole title debate because I forgot to say it earlier?
Yeah.
I actually just wanted to say that I'm a bit surprised that they went with a title that's that's got a very strong fantasy flavor because it talks about these magical artifacts and it's just full on fantasy, which I thought was really interesting. Like, for example, Wheel of Time has a very neutral title. Of course, it's the same as in the books, but still, it's pretty neutral. It could be whatever. Whereas the Rings of Power, you instantly know there's some sort of magic behind it. But ultimately, what I what I feel is the best thing about the title they chose is, of course, that we can now shamelessly expect to see the Forging of the Rings done justice.
Yes, I agree.
Having a show with this title just makes me think there's fairly little chance the forging will be dealt with in the pilot episodes, which is something we've been speculating about. And that just I don't know. I don't think you title the show after an item or an event that just happens in the pilot episodes and then
Agree.
not talk about it later. And I also think that having the Rings of Power does put some weight behind the theories that the dwarves will play a larger role. Because, in the grand scheme of things, during the Second Age, the dwarves didn't really play that big of a role. But given that this is the Rings of Power, I suppose we'll see the effect that that the rings will have on dwarven lords as well. I mean, nobody really wants to see the dwarves anyway, but we have to
No,
accept
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
Sorry, I
You,
had
you've
to.
got two big dwarf files at least on this.
Oh my god.
I had to.
But
So.
but there is a very important point to be made here. One of the people present during the making of this was IGN, and they seem to insinuate that there is a significance behind the title being in silver. I was thinking what it could be. My thoughts went to Mithril pretty quickly and to the Doors of Durin. When I did just like an hour ago with Voice of Geekdom, we were also thinking, oh yeah, Nenya is made of Mithril, Galadriel's ring.
Yeah.
So, but also again, the Doors of Durin, the dwarves, Mithril, So if there is a significance to it being silver, I would suggest that it points towards that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Nenya was mithril set with a white stone, so this would be fantastic if that's what they were intending. That would be really cool. Also, the
Because
water,
Nenya
right?
would
It's
be.
the ring of water, so there's that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
That
also
would be a nice
Nenya would be.
tie-in.
Yeah, super nice. And Nenya was one of the most important rings. I mean, out of all the elven rings, I think there's the most fuss made about Nenya, so it does seem fitting.
Yeah.
And I just want to address something else. It's a short one. I've just watched a video that the Clueless Fangirl did with Lexi, Girl Next Gondor. It's a magnificent video. I suggest everybody watches it. But Helen said that actually the forging makes a shift or marks a shift between the first Dark Lord to the second. And I thought that was a really, really interesting just an opening to this show, to show that this is where Sauron really starts building up his power. And I think it's very fitting that we spend quite a lot of time on that as well. So, of course, the audiences won't be too familiar with the first Dark Lord, of course. But still, it's a shift from one sort of, I don't know, from one significant period to the next. So I really like that as well.
Yeah, really well pointed out for sure.
The other thing about the title, when they revealed it, when we were looking at that teaser image early, didn't it have like an elven inscription all along the characters themselves, like on the left side? I don't think anybody's been able to fully translate what any of those have been yet.
My feeling was that it would be the Ringverse, but from the snippets that people have been able to translate, part of it is, but not all of it is. I don't know. It's being worked out as we speak.
Yeah,
Let's say.
I think the part that was quite visible was when the camera pulls back from the O, and it says something about one for the Dark Lord or the Despicable Lord, and so it could be the full ring poem.
Yeah. And then I was gonna lead into segue into that. Now that we talked about the inscription on those, what about the actual inscription on the ring? I think, as you had just said, some people. There's been a lot of people already on Reddit and Discord who have attempted to translate it. I'm not that good with it, but
even enlisted Carl Hofstetter to help them.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so we just looked up on Twitter from Tolkien Guide. He had Carl Hofstetter help him out translate the inscription on the actual ring, and it comes up as one for the dark, despicable one. which is obviously not dwarven, so it doesn't carry as much weight.
Despicable
Yeah,
Me
but-
crossover confirmed.
Confirmed.
But it's probably just meant to be that part of the ring spell
Yeah.
for the
Yes.
Dark Lord on his dark. It's just
It's
when you
cool.
translate these things to Elvish, sometimes the wording becomes a bit different.
But it's interesting that they decided to make that part of it the visible part of it, right?
The most visible
Yeah.
part, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that, Jackson was trying and actually didn't succeed of having the entire Ringverse in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Not all
Yeah.
of it, but all the parts that he left out.
Definitely.
And of course, it's worth pointing out that when Amazon revealed the setting for this show, they did it via Ringverse. I don't know if anybody's already mentioned that. If they have, I'm
Right,
sorry. So yeah, so this theme has been very, very strong from the very beginning. Which is
it's-
of course what led us to believe that this will be taking place during the time of the forging in the first place, because their early marketing was so
Exactly.
firmly centered around the legend of the forging. So yeah, it's really nice to see everything tied in.
Speaking of the verses, we'd be remiss not to talk about the part of the visual where the water washes over the logo, and at the same exact
and
time,
we know from IGN that was very deliberate.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that they really were aiming for.
Yeah.
The thing with the water.
yeah,
I gushed about it yesterday, and I'm gonna gush about it some more. That was really pure perfection. I love that detail. It was a little bit on the nose for those who know the story, of course, but I don't think there's anybody who didn't appreciate it. So
yeah. It's a little
Nicely
it's a little nod to those who know, I think, which is nice.
yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, have we got anything else that we didn't mention?
No, if they haven't checked it out, please go to the website, fellowshipoffans.com. Check the Twitter, Instagram page. Hen, earlier, whose live stream were you on? You want to plug them again?
Voice of Geekdom. Wonderful. Very, very nice talk.
It was a really fun chat.
And then, Laketia, what video were you watching earlier during the stream? Very
That was-
professional.
Yeah, that was the that was the video from the Clueless Fangirl, and her guest was Girl Next Contour. So lovely ladies, beautiful chat. I strongly recommend it.
So much fun content
I
to
think-
check out.
Yeah, that's true. And now with all the reaction videos and all the analysis, there's lots of stuff to do. People go on holiday, just watch all the YouTube content because it's great. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, given what we know now, the little teaser that we got, the official naming of the show, if you had to place your bets, what would you think this show will be about, and what do you think the storyline will contain during this first season? Are we just gonna see the late second age with the forging dealt with in the prologue? Are we gonna see the merging of timelines? Are we gonna see parallel timelines? Anything else? What would you say?
Gandalf would know, so let's get Gandalf's perspective.
I think everything so far has been a distraction. I think they are intentionally throwing everybody off the trail. Season 1 and possibly 2 through 4 of the 5 that we know we're going to get, they are just going to be different timelines of different Durans. And it's just going to be a dwarf-centric show. And that's probably the most important thing to take away from this. I mean, it's been amazing, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
I was not expecting that to go in that direction.
Yeah,
Nailed
that
it.
was. Yeah, but I think either one of two choices. Either they're gonna push the whole Celebrimbor stuff to the same time as the Excalibur, so that while Anatar is doing his thing with Celebrimbor, Miriel is trying to rule Numenor while Tar Palantir is busy being very old and decrepit. Whereas the other option would be flashbacks, lots and lots of them. There is some pointers towards this. Obviously, all of the first stage stuff is going to be flashbacks anyway. And also, we've reported before about a scene between Galadriel and Miriel, and that scene, the way it's described to us, feels like it's leading up to a flashback. And like Galadriel starts giving a kind of history lesson, and it just feels like a jumping off point to a flashback. And I'd imagine that where there's one of those, there'll be more. So it's either flashbacks or time compression. Both are pretty likely. We'll have to wait and see.
Kyle?
Yeah, I think that it's exciting because we've talked so much about Numenor. Those just happen to be the leaks that we got, and I think we were all fully prepared for it to just be a Numenor centered show for the most part, which makes sense. Late Second Age, blah 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 blah. This kind of indicates that that's not what we're going to see. We're going to see either like Hen had very well pointed out, parallel timelines or time compression of some sort. And I think if we're not going to get, we know we're getting Numenor, we know that for sure. If we're not going to get a standalone forging, War of the Elves and Sauron series, this is the next best thing. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see all of these things happen on screen. I'm really excited.
Yeah, my vote is for time compression. I don't think they'll be pointing out that they've been doing time compression. They just won't mention any dates whatsoever. But I believe we're gonna see Celebrimbor's story take place parallel to Isildur's. I think Isildur is gonna be among the people who go and help the elves during the War of Elves and Sauron. I do think time compression diminishes the scale of the whole conflict, though, because go ahead.
I got one. It just hit me. I'm blowing their whole cover. So I'll put it up higher because it's hard to talk. So here's what they're doing.
I love this.
There is going to be time compression. There's going to be time compression every single season with all these different storylines that they're following all through 5 seasons. And then when the 5th season is over, you're going to buy the DVDs individually, and each DVD is going to be like the Numenor storyline start to finish, this Elven storyline start to finish, and then 3 for the dwarves probably start to finish. But there's going to be compression every season. Flashbacks, flash forwards, flash nows, all
I
of
will
it.
say, for fan editors, and I know a couple, are going to be very busy trying to cut hobbits out of it, trying to make chronological cuts of it,
Definitely.
trying to
Very
cut
true.
the prologue of Fellowship with footage from this.
Yeah.
It's going to be a funny time for those people.
Creative Commons.
Yeah. And there will be time compression inevitably because even within those events, you have mortal characters who don't seem to be Numenorian. Nazanin Bonyadi seems to be playing one, for instance. And
Yes.
they're going to want to not have her turn 80 years old.
True, yeah.
Between the beginning of the Akalabeth and the Last Alliance,
Yeah.
because that by itself takes, I think, like 150 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I just wanted to add that, like I said earlier, I think it downsizes the scale of the whole thing. I think it's much less dramatic if you have a like a Dark Lord that's only been gathering his power across a few years, whereas the other alternative, as it's in the books, you have Sauron, who's been climbing back to power ever since the Battle of the Gwathlo for like a millennia and a half. So I think that threat looms far less grand than the version Tolkien used. And I also wanted to address something that Varking said, which was I really don't think they'd be misleading us with the setting. Because there's a lot of people who really want a forging centric show, and after all the marketing they've done in that direction, if we only see the forging in a scene or two, I mean, I'm ready to riot, and I don't think I'm the only one. So I don't think it's in their interest to mislead us in that way.
I just think that dwarves forge all the time, and we can watch it episodes 1 through 8.
Yeah, I would not watch. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I would
not
watch.
that
I would
show.
watch. Just saying.
I would watch.
Oh,
Democracy
I'm
rules.
overruled.
Amazon, hit me up. I've got ideas.
Perfect.
Please don't. I'm sorry. No. Okay. Are we all done?
I think so.
That's it, and that's all.
Okay, Mr. Gandalf the Grey, are you gonna serve us with the outro?
Sure. I appreciate all the fans for tuning into this fellowship, and I appreciate all of you guys for showing up and doing this. It was fun. I appreciate you letting me wear this. It was not approved beforehand. And just thank everybody for the past couple of days, all the activity, community, the all the different streamers getting together, going on each other's shows, doing stuff on Twitter, YouTube. It's just really cool to see the entire community really coming together, having fun with this, and just making the most of it. We're all in this together. Let's have fun. Let's make friends. I'm out.
Right on.
Very well said.
Yeah, yeah.
See you, everybody.
See ya.
Yeah, thank you.